Good morning, everyone. Lots going on, and we seems to be blowing up into a full-blown scandal at this point in time, which is interesting. Is this going to be the ethics scandal number 3 for, well, the third one bundled, I suppose, the third time in 3 years that Trudeau's had ethics violations levied at him, but I think he's had more than 3 ethics violations. He's been found guilty of, I think, 5 separate ethics violations, but they were bundled, so there's been 3 ethics gates during Mr. Trudeau's tenure as Prime Minister, and that's a lot, so we're going to get to that in a minute. But first, here's the Hamilton or Halton, HRPS, I don't know if it's Hamilton or Halton, I'm not sure, HRPS, Chief of Police official site. Okay, he says, "Oh, Mr. Singh, the Jagemeet Singh at NDP, really? A situation safely resolved, and you choose to somehow make it an issue about racism? I suppose you openly believe the accused should have been killed by the RCMP then. Politics at an all-time low." Interesting that this chief of police is seeing the divisive language too and commenting on it publicly. People have been chased out of their positions for less, sir. Be careful. And it's interesting, though, that he's right. I was saying that Jagemeet Singh's a slider, and sometimes I imagined what it would be like if I grew up in England as opposed to Canada. But that's not realistic, and neither is Jagemeet's statement that the incident would have ended differently if the person was a person of color. How exactly? Is he implying that the police would have shot him? What a tone-deaf statement. What a irresponsible use of his platform to push all of this division. And it's interesting, these people who claim to be anti-racists, these people who claim to be quashing racism in all its forms in every area, end up saying really racist things. Really. They do. And I think that they're just so blinded by their need to appear to want to do good that they don't realize that they're being monsters. They're being absolutely racist monsters. Oh well. Whatever. Here's the West Vancouver Police Department. This is a crime, don't you know? Don't you dare drive on roadways painted in rainbows. Investigators would like to speak with the driver responsible for defacing a recently installed Pride crosswalk at 16th Street and Esquimalt Ave. If you have information, please call. Now, this is an interesting conundrum. Like, we don't put the Canadian flag down on crosswalks and then get angry when tire marks end up on it. I mean, I don't think we put the Canadian flag down on crosswalks anyway. Just kind of, we don't do that. But having rainbow flags have tire streaks through them, I'm not sure that qualifies as defacing. That's driving. Sometimes that happens, and it'll happen on rainbow roads. It'll happen on non-rainbow roads. If you don't want it defaced in this way, maybe you should choose to not put it down on a place where people are going to drive, and that's going to happen as a matter of driving. And can you prove that it was done purposefully? I mean, like, the proving intent here, or implying intent, or implying that the person even knew. There are situations where truck drivers don't know that they've hit somebody and they've continued driving, right? Like, people have been killed this way. And so it's just interesting, look at the pictures, right? Oh my goodness, this is evil, right? It seems overreaction. And especially when we've got, like, situations in Canada happening, like the Danforth shooter, like the fentanyl, like the bombings in Edmonton, like there are real crimes happening, like the rampant gang and gun crime that's happening all across Toronto and the GTA right now. It seems like our police have got their head so far up their asses, it's not even funny. And they're not chasing the right criminals. They're not looking for the people who are actually impacting and making life worse for their fellow human beings. They're looking for people who are driving aggressively on rainbow crosswalks. You monsters. Canada asks British military for help flying troops to and from Latvia. We can't transport our own troops now? Wow, Canada's back under Justin Trudeau, eh? Whew, I'm not going to get into that. Here's... If you like pina coladas and social distancing, right? Dr. Tam is going on vacation. Dr. Tam says, in the spirit of following good public health advice, I'll be taking some time off to recharge. During this time, Dr. Howard New, I think that's how you say that, Deputy Chief Public Health Officer of Canada, will deliver briefings and tweets via this account to help keep Canadians informed. Great time for a vacation. I mean, it's hot, put your mask on. Seems like a weird time to take it. Middle of a pandemic, worst pandemic in 100 years, blah, 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 all that stuff. Yeah, vacation time. See you later. Bye, guys. don't even really get paid for this job. And I do it every day. And I mean, maybe this is more of a hobby than a job, but if I was the public health officer, were I responsible that way, maybe when the province is opening up is not the right time for a vacation. Maybe when Canada is on the cusp of returning all of our rights, our God-given human rights to its citizens, and allowing freedom of movement again, and opening up all of the businesses that have been decimated by this politically created situation because they're listening to their health advisors, which is Dr. Tam, right? It just defies reason, doesn't it? I mean, what better time for a vacation than now? There's nothing to do. I'm just sitting around the office and, a couple of media reports every day. Somebody else could do that. Howard, you're in. You and Gail. You guys have got this whole thing. We're on vacation. Unbelievable. Right? Like, if you were in a private company and you were weathering a storm like this, and one of your main top advisors was like, I kind of booked this time off in November, and I'd really like to go. The planes are shut down. You're not going anywhere. You've got work to do. Dr. Jacobs is saying, when CBC, moving into the actual story for today. I know I took 7 minutes. That's not too bad. Moving into the actual story today, we is turning into a real, actual scandal, and one that looks remarkably like SNC. Yesterday, I was like, I could do easily 2 more videos this afternoon, just because of all the news that was coming out. Canada Land, I was putting together in my head something that had to do with Canada Land, and I'll just show you the unbelievable situation we was in 2017 as reported by Canada Land. Now, generally, I've listened to these guys' podcasts before. I don't agree with them. I think that a lot of the times their takes on things are very biased, but maybe mine are too. I'm not sure. I try and be kind of middle. I try and be center. I try and see it from both sides. Sometimes I fail, and I understand that, but that's what I try. That's what I'm going for here. But these guys don't try and do that. They say they do that, but they're coming from a very left bias, pro-liberal, etc. So seeing this work coming out of this production company, this media outlet, is interesting. Anyway, it's crazy. It's crazy. So this is from July 3rd. Crime and fraud at We Charity in Kenya. This is 2017. I'll read you this and then just give you a synopsis. I'm not going to go through this because it doesn't really have anything to do with anything other than how terrible We actually is, despite their public persona, right? Despite what people think of them in the public. They're not above bribing public officials in Kenya, and they're not above having one of their main guys in Kenya threaten to kill one of their other guys because they're selling them out to the authorities. It's crazy. You could do an entire novel about just this. Forget the tow truck drivers and the tow truck driver war with the cops. I mean, this is the second book in the trilogy. The Kenya connection, right? Okay, moving on. In a recording made by We co-founder Mark Kielburger and obtained by Canada Land, Kielburger can be heard patiently listening as a senior employee Peter Ruhu, sorry if I got that wrong, describes in detail how he paid off the Kenyan government officials who are investigating Free the Children, We's charitable organization in Kenya, and as Ryu repeatedly threatens the life of another FTC Free the Children employee. This whole thing's crazy. So the other Free the Children employee, there are very strict laws around bribery in NGOs in Kenya. And if you get caught taking a bribe, then that's serious jail time. So there's this whole situation where somebody's trying to basically trap the one guy, and the other guy, Peter Ryu, found out because the person who's trying to trap him didn't trap him, and he got angry. And he's said now the whole thing's going to be investigated by NGOs, everybody. Read this story for how We responds to corruption, threats of murder, threats of visa fraud, all sorts of really sordid details. And I mean, it's good reporting. As far as I can tell, they've got documents and Kielburger on the recording, etc. It's wild. It's wild. Like, here's the documents. Here's the text of the recording they have. The next one, there's documents too. So this is really crazy. So back to Canada, back to the $900 million tax fund that was going to be overseen by we, and the conflict of interest that our prime minister is in by allowing himself to remain in the conversation in cabinet to choose we as the people who are going to administer this program. And I just found out in this article here that the government of Canada will be taking over that program. So instead of having we do it, the government of Canada's bureaucrats will do it, which is the same way that CURB and the other packages have been rolled out. So apparently, though, they can't do it, according to the bureaucracy and the cabinet, the Liberal cabinet. Anyway, here's we's corruption, as told by Canada Land, which is shocking. Trudeau family paid hundreds of thousands by we organization. Members of the Trudeau family were paid hundreds of thousands of dollars by the We organization for speeches between 2016 and 2020. We Charity tells Canada Land in a statement. Most of the fees were covered by Me to We Social Enterprise, a for-profit entity adjacent to the charity, but $64,000 was paid directly by We Charity in what the organization describes as a billing error. We says it paid $312,000 for 28 speaking events by Margaret Trudeau, the former Prime Minister, the mother of Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, and $40,000 for 8 events with Alexander Sasha Trudeau, the PM's brother. These totals include a 20% commission paid to Margaret Alexander Trudeau's speaking agency, We Said. These admissions contradict an earlier statement that the charity never paid the Trudeau family for speeches, and follow the discovery by Canada Land of invoices from the agency addressed to the charity. So here's the invoices that prove their statement. Margaret Trudeau is in the center there. Speaker's fee balance $7,500, right? Less deposit. Free the Children, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, right? And the engagement is the 20th of September 2017, which is the We Day, and they talk about that. They talk about that in here. When asked by CBC News on June 26 if they had ever paid the Prime Minister, his wife, or his mother for their appearances at We events, We said their charity has, quote, never paid an honorarium to these individuals for their involvement. That denial was repeated by the CBC and other news organizations over the next 2 weeks as the controversy unfolded, and at no time did we, Justin Trudeau, or Margaret Trudeau ever say otherwise. That's an interesting thing to note. Good job, Canada Land. They didn't say, oh, well, actually we were paid. Just to be clear and transparent, we should say that this is what happened and this is who paid and blah, 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 blah. They didn't, right? Is it incumbent on them too? Is it incumbent on the Guelph Police to tell the Speaker of the House that they arrested a sitting member of Parliament? Yes, it is. Why didn't they? It's very interesting. Back to this. Today, We Charity explained the apparent discrepancy to Canada Land. Quote, we released a statement saying that members of the Trudeau family did not receive speaking fees from We Charity. Me to We Social Enterprise, which is the separate for-profit entity, has been paid honorariums via the Speaker's Spotlight Speaking Bureau to Margaret Trudeau and Alexander Trudeau. Me to We Social Enterprise is one of the many sponsors of We Day, and it has sponsored speakers over the years to speak at these free youth educational events. However, as part of an internal review process we have undertaken, we have discovered that for a number of speeches, there was an error in billing payment. The charity paid the Speaker's Bureau directly, and the charity was reimbursed by Me to We Social Enterprise as part of their sponsorship of the speeches. The amount paid from the charity to the Speaker's Spotlight was approximately $64,000. This was an error and corrected by accounting. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, when first asked about his family's possible conflict of interest with We Charity on June 26th, acknowledged that he has worked with the charity, quote, voluntarily, of course, and I will continue to do so, as will my family. The invoices obtained by Canada Land show that the speaking agency billing Free the Children, the former name of We Charity, in 2 parts for Margaret Trudeau's speaking fee of $7,500 under engagement date. The invoice specifically specifies September 20th, 2017, the date of the year's We Day UN at the theater at Madison Square Gardens in New York, where Margaret Trudeau appeared on stage shortly before the Prime Minister. Other luminaries present included Chelsea Clinton and Whoopi Goldberg. Canada Land sent questions to the Prime Minister's office asking whether he knew that his mother had been paid for her appearance, and if he knew about other payments to his family from We Charity, and if so, why he has not disclosed this. The PMO has not responded. Interesting, right? Here's CBC talking about the same thing. PM's mother, Margaret, and brother Alexander were both paid to speak at We Charity. And this is, I didn't realize that the government of Canada would take over the CSSG program. Here's the quick article. Here's the line in the article. We Charity said last week it was pulling out of administering CSSG, citing the ongoing controversy surrounding it and the government's decision to give the sole source contract to We. Prime Minister Trudeau said the federal government would take over the program. Yep. And obviously they can't do that because they're not capable. No entity in Canada is capable of doing it, and cabinet agreed. And I mean, they're the elected officials; they would know, right? Here's Pierre Poilievre. You're right, Justin is the victim here. He inherited millions and is surrounded by celebrity family members. His DNA and status require he break the law to profit himself. Brought to you by the CBC, and that's Pierre Poilievre. And this is in response to Aaron Wary. Aaron is a reporter for CBC, I think. Maybe not. One of the reporters for CBC was talking about how it's, well, I'll read this tweet. One other odd thing about two of these episodes, Aga Khan and We, is how you can trace them back to Trudeau's own unique life and status. Stephen Harper didn't have to worry about getting invited to Aga Khan's island, and his mother and brother weren't celebrities. Oh, it's Stephen Harper's fault because he's not as famous as that current Prime Minister Trudeau. Right? And so because of that, oh, my head's cut off. Sorry about that. And because of that, the backhanded blaming of Stephen Harper for not being as famous and therefore not needing to worry about stuff like this is just crazy. So, yeah, Pierre Poilievre says it's CBC, so that's why I thought it was CBC. Irresponsible reporting anyway. It doesn't really matter. It's funny the distractions they're trying to use rather than digging in, like Canada Land is digging in and talking about who appeared at the same speeches like Whoopi Goldberg and Chelsea Clinton. Were these people paid or not? And man, it's super funny to watch the apologists and the liberal acolytes put those op-eds in newspapers that Katie Telford talked about back in the SNC days. Don't worry about it. We'll get op-eds printed to make sure that everybody knows what you're doing is proper, right? We'll get op-eds printed to make sure everybody knows that this is just fine. We's not a scandal at all, right? Scandal-free Trudeau years. That's what they'll label it as, right? Here's Brian Lilly. He said, I'd love to hear from any Canadian elected official who asked to speak at a We event and was told no. I would love to get that list. Oh my goodness, I would love to get that list. Here's one person, Theo Fleury. He said, wow, I was asked to speak at We Day and they said, we don't pay our speakers. Oh, only if you're a Trudeau, they pay you. When we asked me to speak, says Emily Nicholas, when we asked me to speak at the We Day in Montreal 2018, they told me that as a charity, they did not pay speakers. Oh, well, I guess as a charity, they put the emphasis on giving their speakers money to those that need it less, while asking black folks for free labor. Wow. Hashtag Black Lives Matter. Nah, it's a communist organization. And if you don't know that, go read their About Me page. Here's some pantomime, and it's very interesting. Here is the Bloc leader, Blanchette, saying that Trudeau should step down and let the Deputy Prime Minister be in charge for a little while. Hold on, I'll play the clip here. Hold on. Okay, here he is saying that the Prime Minister should not stay in the job. Sorry if it's a little quiet. He's a little soft-spoken and the mic's a little soft. So, and it's Twitter, so I apologize. I do my best. Link is in the description.
So for the time being, and since we are still managing this COVID-19 thing for a few months, I think the Prime Minister must step aside and leave the place, the function, the responsibilities to the Deputy Prime Minister. And if it does happen, we will offer our full collaboration to the Deputy Prime Minister, because for the time being, he cannot be considered as being qualified to keep doing the job.
He cannot be considered qualified to keep doing the job for the time being. Why do I think this is pantomime? Because it puts Freeland in position to lead, right? It puts Freeland as de facto leader of the, well, not even de facto. If Trudeau officially steps aside, then it's pantomime. So it's positioning, and he's offering full support from the Bloc, so that gives majority. I don't know. It keeps the status quo. It keeps the same people in place. It would be very unlikely for the Deputy Prime Minister to shuffle the cabinet in that situation. So, Mendocino stays in place, Husson stays in place. All of those people stay in the current positions they're in, and all of the programs and spending that have been agreed upon up till now continue. They don't change. There's no confidence vote. There's no change in the calendar. There's no anything. It's pantomime. Even if Trudeau steps down for the next couple of months, if he steps down till September, and goes to Tofino, and leaves Deputy Prime Minister Freeland in charge, that's going to play super awesome. That's going to be great. You do that. Even better, go to Florida. I dare you. It'll be super fun. Everybody in Canada will totally forget about it. You should definitely do this. definitely step down. Let Freeland take over and you go surfing. Let's watch that implode right after you've given $1 billion to your buddy. And then went, oh yeah, never mind. I guess we can do it. Haha. That bureaucracy we have in place, that massive, expensive bureaucracy that hasn't had any cuts at all during this whole COVID-19 crisis, just cuts in the ability to deliver the job that they're supposed to be doing. Right? Yeah. It's totally, nobody's noticing. The public doesn't care. People notice. People care. Look at the comments. It's very, very interesting. It's very interesting. Even Canada Land is firing on two, like, double-barreled, right? On both cylinders, everything they've got at this corrupt government. And the Bloc is offering a way out by what seems to be like, oh, we're holding him accountable. I don't think so. I think it's pantomime. Go surfing, Justin. Go surfing. Please do it. Take their advice. Do it. I think this is the exit strategy. And then he comes back in September and the country's been okay. And, oh, I'm sorry, everyone. No, I mean, I don't know if he's guilty. Mr. Blanchette says, I don't know if these charges are true or not. It requires an investigation. My confidence in the investigators is not great. Brenda Leckie, investigate all that racism in the RCMP. There's no racism in the RCMP. Oh, wait, Gail knows where the racism is. Come on out, Gail. A week later, right? It is not, there's nothing that has been done over the last 5 years, not an election, not an investigation, not actions by police or newspapers or government that would give me any confidence at all in any investigation in this, period. Even the ethics commissioner has come back two times with multiple scandals, saying that Justin Trudeau has violated the ethics laws, and nothing happens. Nothing matters. So up till now, nobody's been asking him to step down while ethics investigations have been ongoing. Up till now, that's not been something that's been in place. Is that going to be put in place now? That he has to step down every time he has an ethics violation? Because, I mean, if that's going to be in place, then we might as well just get a new prime minister. He's not going to be around for a while, right? Goodness me. Well, that's enough for me today. Thanks for watching, everybody. Check out CanadaPoly.com. Check out CanadaReport.co. Check out SpeakingMoistly.co. Check me out I'm on all sorts of streaming devices. I'm on podcast devices, et cetera. I'm trying to protect myself against YouTube censorship. So I'm everywhere. I'm on DLive. I'm on Twitch. There's another one. DLive, Twitch. Doesn't really matter. I'm on a whole bunch of other things too. So if one goes down, you can find me on the others. So thanks for watching, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.